Okay folks, welcome. It is the 14th of April. This is just a regular day, me in the studio, doing this and that. Just had some of these ladies' mugs out of the bisque kiln. Bisque, Simon? Didn't think you did bisque anymore. No, well I don't, but you know what? I've discovered that when putting on a red iron oxide slip, they don't like it being raw glazed, they like to be bisqued. I had to discover that by some unfortunate realities that surfaced. They seem to crack for some reason. I'm not quite sure why, what it is, what's actually going on. Yeah, some GPs here, just these are raw. These have been glazed and banded. Some more ladies' mugs over here under wraps, which I threw those yesterday or the day before, and they're just keeping damp because I'm in the process of making some more over there. These little caddies, which I've trimmed a couple. I got a couple left here, which I thought I'd do with you, but probably not today, right now, because as you can see, by the way, yeah, I've moved my wheel. It used to be over there, if you remember, and I had that other wheel here, which has now been picked up. That's gone. So yeah, talking of wheels, we are taking orders on these Leach treadle wheels. Could do with a few more orders just to make up the batch if anybody's teetering on the fence. Yeah, as you can see here also I have my zoom set up, so I have a larger monitor. And I have a separate webcam up here, a 1080p webcam. Then I had to go and buy, actually, for my MacBook Air, I had to buy this adapter which takes this HDMI cable, which goes in the back of the television there. I've also got a little Roku player here as well, so when I'm not zooming, if I want, I can flip out the HDMI and plug in the Roku. So that's fun. I can actually watch TV and make pots at the same time. I don't know if that would be a good idea, mate. Okay, so here we are. This is kind of a new position, so we're just gonna we'll see how we go. Yeah, so these I'm just in the middle of throwing some ladies' mugs. We'll start at that angle, then I'm going to come down on the tripod a bit, but we'll begin there. We'll just talk about this. Yeah, these are ladies' mugs. I call them ladies' mugs only because they're, you know, they've got a little bit of a curve to them. So yeah, hope you can see that. Yeah, I have a gauge set. I actually cleaned out my wheel, would you believe? So yeah, usual center, coning up, centering down. So with these ladies' mugs, I don't open them up as wide as if I was doing tankards, because they are much narrower in the foot. Ugh. For example, here is one, a very nice, clean example of one. So yeah, quite a lot narrower in the foot than a tankard. So yeah, keep your pots in at the top, okay? Great tip that. Watering, spread your fingers, put the water there. Let it run down both fingers. Okay, now down to the bottom and grab some clay, pull up, and as you pull up you're going to belly it at the same time. You see? Yeah, I've got a fire going in here. Well, I did have a fire going in here. I think it may have gone out. It's kind of warm enough without it, actually. So yeah, giving it some belly here and heading up towards the gauge. So the gauge gives you, I sort of akin the, if you like, the gauge a little bit to the goal mouth, you know, that you are, if you're a soccer player, which I'm not particularly, but in England where I come from, yeah, they play soccer, don't they? A lot. I've never been one really for these sort of mass hysteria kind of sports particularly. Okay, right, let's just check the height. These are 13 ounces, by the way, and they are thrown 5 1/4. 5 1/4, and smack on. I got the gauge set here, but I'll be honest, the gauge I set it the other day, and it's, you know, it's kind of dried off the piece of clay here, and you know, I'm just using that pretty much as a just a sort of rough guide, really. Nothing too exact. I'm sort of just, I've got the ruler handy here, so yeah. So putting that in there. Always a good idea, you know, when you're finishing off the base of your, oops, I think I knocked it. When you're finishing off the foot of your pot, while you're down there, you might as well clean away the actual wheel head here a bit. And there's a reason, I think, for that. And that is to, you don't want a lot of people, they don't know what to do, you know. A lot of people just have a plain problem lifting a pot off the wheel, don't they? They think they've got to put lots of water here, then they've got to kind of like slide it off. You don't want to do that. That is okay. So that's that. Sponge. Now I'm going to do something different, what I don't usually do actually with these. That is, you will observe, if you've observed me in the past, I take this and I cut away towards the gauge. And I thought about that, and I've decided that I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm going to go like this. Because with a cut-off wire, when you cut it, the wheel is moving, and you want to do the cut, you know, when the wheel is still in rotation, when you pass the wire underneath, it moves the whole pot, doesn't it? Very slightly. It just moves it, and then it's no longer running. And then what happens is, if you're cutting towards the gauge, you're knocking it off center, and then it's going to slam into the gauge. So I thought about that, and I thought, I mean, the reason, of course, that we always did it like that was because the gauge was in the way, you know. But I've decided if the wheel's going like that, if I touch the toggle of the wire on there, it goes through, you see. And then I can pull towards me. And then, as it pulls it off center a touch, it pulls it towards me, and it gives me more time to stop the wheel and stops it hitting the gauge. I don't know if you're one of those people, but who cut off like that, but all right, anyway, just thought I'd mention it. Might help somebody. Everybody has their own way, don't they, in this pottery game. So coning up. get the lump of clay a bit attached to the wheel, you know, before you start really putting pressure on the lump of clay. And to do that, I use my pinky finger here to kind of smooth that lump, make a join, you know. I kind of do it unconsciously. So opening up in a V shape, and now just forming the base, the floor there, like that. Now pulling it back in, and now going up the volcano like this, keeping it in at the top. So you have to make a mental decision, let's say, that you're going to make sure that you're going to bring this lift inwards to the center as you go upwards. Because if you don't, what will happen is you'll start lifting and your concentration will wane, and all you'll be concerned about is getting it up, and you'll suddenly find it's got too wide at the top. So, okay, down to the base here. I'm pushing in here. Now look, this is like a double scissor, it's like a scissor effect, if you like. As I push in from the outside, you can take these inside fingers and push them out like that. So you get it, both your fingers going like this. You see what I mean? And that will give you a very definite bulge here, which acts as a, I don't know about you, but you know, when I'm lifting a clay up the side of a pot, you know, you have that characteristic bulge that you see rising up, 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 up. I like to see that, you know. So, here comes the bulge. So I'm consciously keeping it in at the top. Now I've told you in the past, always keep your inside fingers a little bit above the outside. When you get to the actual top of the piece, probably about at this point I would say, what you want to do is take the inside fingers and raise them up, and even sometimes the inside fingers become higher than, sorry, the outside fingers, this hand, becomes higher than the inside fingers, because what you're trying to do is encourage that, the top of the pot, you're trying to encourage it, you see, to go to the center. It's something I've just noticed that I do really without thinking about it, but it's worth mentioning, I think, because, you know, the clay does want to go out, so you have to employ all means possible to keep it going in at the top. I'll just check the height on that one. Yeah, that one is a smidgen low. Smidgen low. See, that's the thing. See, the gauge, it communicates information to you about your piece. It tells you, you know, come on, up a bit, up a bit, up a bit. Okay, so by what I'm doing here effectively is, you see, I'm removing that clay using this tool. We don't trim these or anything like that, so we just use the throwing stick Some people call it a wood knife. Wood knife. Okay, so now I'm down on the base here, cleaning away that there. All right. Just taking off some of the slurry off the side. Now, sponge stick. Okay, cut off. So yeah, this kind of wheel is rather nice because as I'm not going too fast anyway. So as I cut through and it pulls the pot a little bit off center, I've got my foot right here on the flywheel. I can just stop the wheel, you know, pretty quickly. So, right, I'm going to bring the camera down to do one more, just so you get a slightly different angle. Okay, let's see now. Yeah, a bit of sunshine coming in the window. All right, we'll try that angle. It's good to see. I mean, I'm not saying I'm the world's best thrower by any means. I'm categorically not the world's best thrower. But it's good to see somebody, I think, repeat throwing, especially for people who are sort of hobby potters and they're learning. It's a good exercise to see somebody throwing, you know, one after another, throwing to a gauge. Gauge throwing or repeat throwing, you know, it really, you have to get into a rhythm so that you become semi-robotic. Your hands go through the motions. Your mind, it can be fairly disengaged actually. You know, once you've learnt how to pull clay and all that, you know, it's you don't have to really labour at it. Maybe you do when you're learning. Some of my Zoom students are discovering. Yeah, if you're interested in Zoom, join us for a Zoom session. Maybe you just want an hour or two's, you know, brushing up a little bit on your skill. I might be able to help you. A little bit of belly here coming up, and then we've got to nip it in at the top here. And now I've got to close it in a touch. We do that like this. 6 points of contact, I call it. When you do that though, don't do it like that. Make sure your fingers, your thumb and your index finger here, they're dead opposite each other. Don't have a gap like that or like that when you do it. Just checking in my mirror there. Yeah, get yourself a mirror. If you haven't thrown with a mirror yet, you are in for a treat. Okay. Yeah, it's a great throwing aid, a mirror. I highly recommend it. Indeed. Alright, there we go. So down the bottom there, clean away that. It's like wet trimming, isn't it? It's like I am trimming, but I'm doing it now in the actual, just incorporating it into the actual, into the throwing, you know, which is what you want to do, you know, you save time. You know, in the grand scheme of things, trimming is a waste of time. And even if you're an American trimaholic, which I know some of you are. Oh, I like trimming too, though. Nothing wrong with trimming, but you know, you don't want to be doing it if you don't need to be. Okay, up the side of the pot there, just clean off that slurry. What next? Yeah, leather. My mirror's moved. That's okay, there it is. So, yeah, another one bites the dust. 5 1/4 it is. Okay, good. Take my cut-off wire. Always remember, when you take your cut-off wire, always clean it before you use it. Alright? Oh, I never sponged. I never sponged. So if you forget to do that, like I just did, you should sponge out before you cut off, because if you cut off and then you sponge after you've cut off, you can reattach the pot to the wheel head and then you have yourself a bit of a problem. Now, when I did use the sponge just then, I was rather careful not to apply too much downward pressure on the floor of the piece because I didn't want it to reattach. But having a cut-off wire that is a twisted cut-off wire, the chances of that happening are much less. And also because my wheel head, as I showed you, I cleaned it before I cut through. Okay, some good tips there for you folks, hope that helps you. If you're interested in a workshop, we are doing in-person workshops here. Come and join us. Dates are on my website, check them out. Zoom, as I said, direct from this wheel head to your wheel head, wherever that is on planet Earth. Wherever it is on planet Earth. Doesn't matter, does it? What else? Yes, and taking orders on these Leach trundle wheels, okay? Thanks for joining me, folks. Keep practicing, always. And I will see you soon. Bye for now.